Our inbox was full of thoughts. Both THOUGHTS and THOTS.
Ooh, I'm here for the thirsty thought.
Yes, I am very excited. Hey, Bast, can everyone in the chat hear me? Philip, are you back?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, cool. There she is. Hey, Maddie. Okay. And one more thing, and then we will be good to go. Oh, is that Ryan?
Yeah.
I haven't heard from him in a while. I feel like ever since his hairline has been receding, he's been trying to be more more grown. And I just don't know how to deal with this new level of Ryan Kelley. I'm not mad about it. I'm just like, okay. And yes, Guy, I will explain that diamonds don't work like that. Don't worry. But yeah, his hairline is worrisome. Okay, so welcome everybody to Beacon Hills After Dark. I, of course, am StickyKeys, and tonight is the Elseworlds podcast. And what's happening? Oh, Lord. Elseworlds podcast, where we talk about Tyler Hoechlin and and how we watched a full episode of a show we didn't need to watch, and it was all Isaac's fault. But we'll talk about that later. Hashtag blame Isaac. And and we're gonna go through the inbox, and we are just going to. Jazmin is gonna join us, and we are going to have some thoughts about what we just saw. I, of course, am StickyKeys. Joining me tonight is involuntary permanent engineer Philip. Say hi, Philip.
Hey, everybody.
Woo! And also tonight is the ever lovely Jocelyn / Jazmin, depending on, I'm about to say, since we're talking about Superman and Black Suit Superman, what should we call Black Suit Superman? I like calling him Heidi. I guess we could just call him like Bizarro Superman. I want to call him something catty too.
Yeah, I would like a tinge of shade as well, but I just don't. I keep thinking about wedges and Ed.
Yes, the Super Wedges. We could call them Super Wedges. Because I was here, so when we talk about Super Wedges, it'll be Jazmin. So, the first episode was The Flash. And you know what was so fun? Okay, so here's where we kind of messed up. I know nothing. Hey, BBS. I know nothing about any of these shows. And the only reason I watched was to talk about... the only reason I watched was because of Tyler Hoechlin. And so once we actually saw, I can kind of pick up here and there, and I know very high level, and I saw the first episode. And so I was like, okay. And so I had seen the first episode and the third episode, and I was like, okay, we're going to do this live watch, because Jocelyn was like, I got some things to say. And I was like, all right, girl, we're going to do a rewatch, and we're going to let you say the things you have to say. So, on the bottom of the screen, it was like Elseworlds, part 1, part 2, part 3. So I was like, okay, it's going to autoplay part 1, part 2, part 3. So it played the first episode, then it played the second episode. And I was like, we were watching and I was like, dang. I said, there is so much backstory that, like, you have to be a real fan to understand this. They have to know that it's not hardcore fans watching this special presentation, but okay. Yeah. And I was like, ooh, it's Max from Black Sails. All right, I'm here. All right. Yeah, I was like, this is fun. I was like, I have no idea what's going on. Blame Isaac. Isaac, it's your fault. Just deal with it. Just take the blame, okay? You led us astray. This is your fault. And so we ended up watching most of a full episode with, God dang it, Barry and Iris's daughter. It was a mess. But then we got back on track. And then once we saw the episode, it was like, yeah, this makes a lot more sense. And
I just came in halfway through and I was like, what the hell are you guys watching?
No, he was real smooth too. He was like, oh, so y'all just watching Flash episodes now. We're like, what? We're like, no. Like, we just need to be done.
And I can tell you, I'm current on the Flash, and because I don't love my stuff, I'm also current on Arrow.
You are so...
I know. It's such a problem. I don't know how that happened, but it happened. I don't know. And, I mean, the crossover was very separated and divorced from the stuff that's going on in the Flash. So you didn't have to, like, really know what's happening on either show. Like, Oliver just got out the clink on Arrow. And
right.
On the Flash, like, they're dealing with his daughter. They still haven't learned their lesson about time travel, stepping on butterflies and all that good stuff.
And we learned about time wraiths. I was like, this is a lot of backstory. I was like, they are giving us a lot of stuff.
Yeah. And I was kind of happy because I don't watch Supergirl. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I did not want to have to make that commitment in order to follow. So I was happy that it was completely separate. And they usually do a good job. I mean, last year the crossover was centered on Barry and Iris's wedding, which is kind of messed up because their wedding isn't even in the episode of The Flash. It was kind of a mess.
Yeah.
So this year I thought they did a good job at sort of making this its own separate universe, and even though some of the characters cross over from one episode to the other, you know, it didn't feel like you're missing some monumental event that's going to ultimately have ramifications on the rest of the season, like a wedding of the main characters, you know. Did you guys follow the whole Elseworlds So White thing?
No. What happened?
Yeah, so there is a core group of fans. I'm not going to say that they're all like the Iris West fans, but the people that I follow that were tweeting about it, that's how like I became mutuals with them. But they came up with this hashtag. If you type it in, you'll see it on Twitter. Elseworlds So White, because they were upset that they didn't feel like the characters of color were given enough to do, which is kind of weird because, you know, they did incorporate Diggle and what's his bun? Cisco had more to do in the crossover than he has to do. He's been doing on the Flash
on the show.
Yeah, he's had like very little to do, which is kind of a weird thing, and I think a little bit problematic with this season of the Flash. But I mean, I get it. It is frustrating. Like you question how they make certain choices. Like how did we get Killer Frost or some version of Danielle Panabaker in every episode?
Right.
Instead of having someone like.
Well, one thing I will say is, especially with the Flash, because you have Iris, you have her dad, you have her brother, plus you have, especially in Supergirl, there are a whole bunch of other characters of color that I didn't even know about. It wasn't until we watched the off episode that I learned that there were even more characters of color on the Flash. And I was like, oh. And then when we finally did see Jimmy, he was kind of a villain. And then Cisco was a villain. So it was like, oh. And
I completely missed Jimmy the first time I watched Supergirl.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, they didn't even put Jimmy in this episode. And someone was like, no, he was a bouncer for Cisco. And I was like, well, shit. Y'all couldn't find anything for him to do. And then, like, there's some random part at the end of Supergirl when, like, the Martian Manhunter just comes up out of nowhere. And I was like, where the hell has this dude been the whole time? Like, it's weird. And it's, I get the point. They found things for some of the diverse characters to do, but it is a little bit frustrating when you're bringing together like some of the most iconic journalists, like Lois, Clark, Kara, and you don't find a way to like maybe have Iris come in for like 5 seconds just to have, you know, some sort of iconic fan service scene between maybe Lois and Iris. Because frankly, I didn't think that I didn't really get why she was such a huge part of the crossover Supergirl episode, and I just figured it must be that I don't understand something that's happening.
Well, so we're going to talk a lot about that because I didn't understand why there was no scene between Iris and Felicity, and I don't know if has there never been scenes between Iris and Felicity? That makes no sense to me because she's like,
had scenes together.
No, they've met.
Okay. Because she's like, yeah, Felicity called me. And I was like, have we ever seen this? So if they have, good on them. But I think the CW in trying to, I think they're trying to test the waters. We might as well talk about this now. Now, what I will say about Elseworlds So White is that for the CW, I will give them a good solid B. I did not expect more. I was not offended, and I did not expect more, and I barely noticed. And that's pretty much about what I expect from the CW. I know that that's not an excuse that they can rely on for too much longer, but it's also, you know, what I've come to expect from them. So, there's a lot to be said about, you know, just even the fact that all their lead characters are white. You know, when we talk about the fact that every single, you know, show running character is a white person. It's like, well, okay.
I feel like with these shows right now, what I'm trying to balance is the male-female dynamic.
Yes, exactly.
And since we're getting there, the race dynamic kind of is, I hate saying backburner, but like, you know what I mean? Like, once the gender dynamic is fixed, then I feel like they can really start being, where it's more open, like, oh, okay, so now we have the gender dynamic kind of equalized.
Well, the problem is...
I can notice that there's this big gaping hole. All of our main superheroes are white, except for Black Lightning, and oh my god, why doesn't this cross over?
No, I don't ever want them to touch Black Lightning.
No, and I understand why they don't want them to, but the idea that they're excluded, or that there isn't one that's included, is a little bit weird.
Well, and I think one of the things that sort of helped was when they would, Legends is admittedly a little bit less diverse than it used to be as well, but having them sort of out of the action as well, because to your point, you would get more women in the mix, because I think that Katie Lotz is clearly the lead of Legends, so you would have more of the gender balance, and they have a little, I don't know, they have a little bit more diversity on that show. I mean, I don't know, it's changed now that they've lost Kid Flash. You know, they have Amaya and the other character whose name I cannot remember, but she's the Muslim character, and I should remember her name, but I have not watched this season of Legends. So you get that kind of diversity. So by having them, like, not in the mix, that was another opportunity where they could have had a lot more women and a few more pops of color. But once you take them off the table, it sort of does make it a big old sausage fest that's mostly monochromatic with a few pops of color. And to that point, I also feel like they make Kara the backburner of all these crossovers. Like,
Thank you. We're going to talk about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Izazari. Thank you. Where they could move away from centering the crossover on the relationship between Barry and Oliver. Yeah, we got it. The universe is much more developed now. The universe is much bigger. I would like to see a crossover that is more centered on Supergirl's world, and something that makes her feel like less of sort of an afterthought, which is what she's felt like repeatedly in these crossover episodes.
So we have to talk about Supergirl. We've had a problem with Supergirl from the very beginning. And the issue that was going to be with Supergirl and the issue that has been with Supergirl from the very beginning, from the very first second that someone said, let's do a Supergirl show, is that Supergirl's cousin is Superman.
Right.
And you've always are going to have this kind of canopy of this shadow kind of cast over her. And she had kind of a chance to be a little bit different when it was just CBS and, they were kind of taking some chances. It wasn't, necessarily groundbreaking, but it was a big deal. You had Callista, you had some different storylines that they were tackling a little bit differently, and, they were doing some different things. And then it went CW, and I feel like that's when they just didn't quite know what to do with her. So now we have CW in this position where the CW, whether they want to admit it or not, they want a Superman show. They do. And they don't know how to get it because, again, as I've said from the beginning, the second they get a Superman show, Supergirl is dead. So how do we solve that problem? So do we take Superman, and we put him on Supergirl? Well, no, because then it overshadows Supergirl. And you get a lot of people that are going to be up in arms and people that are just going to be really upset about that. I think what they're going to try to go for now, and this is why I think that Lois got such a big lead in with this crossover, is I feel like we're going towards Son of Superman, and I feel like we're going to have a Lois bent show where it's almost like we're following Lois, but Superman's kind of there in the background. It's their show, and we're talking about what it's like to raise the next Superman.
I'm not going to be watching that show.
And doing that on Argo. But if it's Hoechlin, which I think it will, and if they do it right, where it is just enough to whatever to the comics, but just original enough, it will go for the next 5 years. They can really make it something good. And it's something that could exist in a property along with Supergirl, plus you have a female lead. The issue is, would Bitsy do it? Hoechlin's on board. And, are they going to sing something in? Because it is still very experimental. Is it something that's going to work?
Yeah, I think they should do like they did, if they're going to do it, because I just think that the CW is really oversaturated with these superhero shows. And at the end of the day, I think The Flash is the only one of those shows that's consistently pulling in strong ratings. Arrow, the other shows only get this boost when they do the crossover, and people go back to not watching it. So it wouldn't surprise me if they do it, because you're right. It clearly felt like they were trying to set that up in this crossover, but I think they should start conservatively and do like they did with Legends. Maybe do a really limited short order run and test the water, see how people feel about it, and maybe give it sort of a very defined story. Like, here's a beginning, here's a middle, and here's an end, so that if it doesn't pick up, if it's not popular, people feel like they've gotten this little snippet. It's enough loose ends that they could pick it up in some of the crossovers, but enough of a conclusion that you don't feel like, oh man, it's totally terrible that they didn't pick the show up. Like something like that, that's maybe 8 or 10 episodes, like a mid-season replacement when one of the shows goes on hiatus, you plug it in. Maybe something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. My problem is that I don't know how you revive a show like Supergirl, what is it in its 4th season now?
I have no clue. I think so, actually. That sounds about right.
In its 4th season, the first season is not horrible, but once you, it sets you up for a tone that season 2 will just screw you up for. And, you can't start this show and be satisfied. because you're going to be let down in season 2. And if you started watching a couple episodes at the end and then go back to watch it again, you're like, what the hell am I doing? Why am I putting myself through this for an entire season? And then you get to season 2, which was the crap season, and then again. And so it's like, how do you pull new people into this show? And I don't think you can.
Well, the problem, again, with Supergirl is that there's no... And then they did another cast change out just over the last season. There are brand new people on here that I've never seen. And so a lot of times when you have people that start watching these shows, they start watching like, oh, Callista Flockhart's on here. Oh, that girl from Glee is on here. It's someone that you knew from before. And so, yeah, if you're a new watcher to this, you have absolutely no one that you're like, oh, I'm watching because of this. I don't know anyone who's like, I'm a Supergirl fan, and so I'm going to start watching the show on the CW. I don't know who's doing that. They did say that Elseworlds did give them a huge ratings boost, but yeah, it's going to be interesting. This is all the mid-season finales, right? So it'll be interesting to see kind of what it comes back to.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't see people coming back, like, after watching Elseworlds, like, 3-4 weeks from now, being like, oh, I'm going to tune into Supergirl now.
Right.
Yeah, no, I don't think the crossovers, as much as, I think, like you said, they give them the boost for those sets of episodes, but, I mean, it's not,
But even...
crossovers. And
now, I can see people coming back for Arrow, because they're thinking Felicity and Oliver might finally get over the hump.
Well, no, and this is exactly to your point, Jocelyn, what you were talking about. Them putting old girl on the back burner. We had, so the Flash ep was mostly about, proving that Barry is Barry, but we did learn a little bit about his backstory. And so you understand kind of who he is, you understand the relationship with Iris, you see their lab and kind of how they work together. And so you do get a backdoor kind of into their world. So if you're like, okay, if I did watch an episode of this, I would know where I was. When we got to Arrow, we have the whole Felicity and Oliver saga, and that's definitely a pull-in. When you're like, oh, what's going to happen with them? Yes, let me go see what's happening. With Supergirl, it's like the biggest pull we got was, well, on my planet, you're my sister. And it's like...
Yes. Which is unfortunate, because I do think their relationship, from the bits I've seen, is really sweet, and is a very,
supportive.
It seems like it's a great aspect of the show, but they did very little to inspire you to want to keep watching, based on, because it was all about Superman. It was all about Superwedges.
Exactly.
I mean, if they pulled anyone into anything, it's to see what happens with Superman and Lois.
Yes.
And it's like they're gonna be real disappointed in the next episode when there's no Superman.
Exactly.
There will be no wedges. There will be no Tyler tantrums. You ain't getting that ass.
Y'all. Can we talk?
I like Alex and Kara Isaac, but it's not really the sibling relationship I'm gushing to go see. They're sweet together, but
she always seemed very cold to me, and Kara always seemed a little bit flighty to me. But I've never liked Kara. So that's always been but I'm not one for Melissa anyway, so, but especially not Kara. And so it's never been a big draw. Supergirl was just never a draw for me. And I was just like, ugh, I would so much rather... Wasn't Brandon Routh supposed to be in one of these episodes? Did I miss him?
He's on Legend?
He wasn't in it, but Legends made a really funny joke about it in their episode this week. You guys, we're missing the annual crossover where we all get together and beat up a bad guy.
Oh.
Who wants to do that shit again? So I like the inclusion of Gary. I thought that was cute to have Gary in. I can't remember if that was Supergirl that Gary was in.
Oh, okay. So what is Gary? Who is he?
So Gary works for I can't even remember that it's like the Timekeepers Association on Legends. Like he was sort of the right hand man to this woman that Katie Lotz's character Sarah is dating. You know, he was trying to help her keep order and reign in the Legends so they don't screw up the timeline too much. But he was basically just like a comedic foil. So he was never like really a central character. He's just someone that would pop up. They'd bust his chops. They'd make jokes about Gary.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, because Isaac was like, leave Gary alone. And I was like, Gary's selfie game needs to get on point. He was like, leave Gary alone.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Gary was a fun little, and he has like a line in the crossover where he's like, "You're legend." It's like, okay, we get it.
Oh, that is hilarious. Okay, I'm here for it then. That's funny. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's move to, yes, because there's a lot of questions in here about Hoechlin's acting and Black Suit Superman, so might as well get into it. Here, let's do this. I was living.
It's so nice to see him, like, having fun.
Yes.
I had never watched any of the Supergirl episodes that he had previously appeared on, so this was my first time.
I have, and it was not like this.
Oh, interesting.
It was...
Yeah, it's been stiffer.
Yes. This was him being at his most comfortable, at his most, like, loose and just relaxed. I don't know what good. They must have got him some nice edibles before yelling. I don't know. Yeah.
Honestly, it helped that they didn't make him so deferential to Kara and Supergirl until the end.
Well, that's another thing that makes me crazy. It's another effect of showing, telling and not showing. Mm-hmm. His whole... Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I get that she's more powerful. I get that she's technically older than him and that she raised him. Or, for a couple years before, he was sent off to Earth, and then, there's that whole time difference thing, so that's why she looks younger, but she's really older thing, and everything like that, and she admires him because, he became a hero first when she got there, and so she kind of grew up on Earth looking up to him thing, so they have that weird dynamic thing. But, I get all of that weird kind of relationship thing they have, but it's just so scripted, the way he's constantly boosting her up, and I don't care if it's like that in the comic or not. It doesn't read well on television.
Yeah, and I didn't know any of that. And so I'm like, they need to... I think I knew, like, bits and pieces and then just plainly forgot. They really need to make that more clear in the exposition, or at least in the way that they reference it. Like, hey, little cuz, or big cuz, or, like, hey, remember I used to change your diapers. Something to let us...
They used to do it in the first time he comes, the first, like, two times that he comes out, they used to do it. And in the first season, they used to instant message each other because Superman actually didn't come out on the show. Mm-hmm. And so there used to be little references like that to each other, like little cute little messages like that. So it's there, it's just... At first, when it was text message, it was like, okay. But once they actually put them in person doing it, and it felt like every scene had to wrap up with, Kara, you're so great. Kara, you're so strong. Kara, you're the bravest. Kara, you're the champion. It's like, stop already.
Because his thing at the end just threw me off because it came out of nowhere. He was just like, oh, Kara, you're so much stronger than me. And every year you just get stronger and stronger. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, where did this even come from? Clark, you're having a baby. You own a farm. You're about to get married. Like, you have your life completely together. The last time I saw Kara, she was like, I'm going to be a journalist. So I'm like, what is this about? It was just so weirdly unconnected to anything that was going on. So yeah, it just feels really unnecessary at this point.
And speaking, not to go off track, but speaking of stiffness and being a tight ass, what did you guys think about Ruby Red Grapefruit? What's her name?
Right, Ruby Red and Tangerine. Ruby Red and Tangerine, Ocean Spray.
Every time I see her name, I think of Delicious Ocean Spray, Ruby Red Grapefruit.
Yes.
Her ads. What did you guys think about her?
She was very stiff. I was really surprised. And it was weird because like it felt like they used too much starch on her. Like not just her costume, but just on her. I was like, girl.
On her. Yeah. I was not jazzed about her casting because I had seen her on Orange is the New Black, and I really loved her there, and I was like, and I think I even tweeted, like, I hope this acting's gotten better, at least at the CW standards, and someone was like, nah, girl.
Oh, no.
It hasn't. And I mean, I get it. I mean, Batman, I get sort of why, of all the characters, why stuff like Batgirl would be, since they're sort of painting her as, like, baby Bruce, you know, making her sort of stiff and whatever, but nothing about that made me want to see more of Gotham.
But exactly, because first of all, I don't know what this whole Please Don't Stop the Music era Rihanna wig that she had on.
Oh, see, I love the look. I was here. I like that Mama took the time and said, oh, let me put on my good red lace front.
But then we had kind of a Me Too moment with Kara where she's like, oh, you know, X-ray vision. And I'm like, why are you looking through people's suits, girl?
That I thought was such a creepy thing.
I was like, what are you doing?
I get that she could, I feel like if they had just left it at the, hey, I got X-ray vision, I can see through the mask, I know who you are. But then for her to then make the comment.
She's like, you got tattoos everywhere.
Like, exercise some discretion. Stop looking up and down people's bodies with your X-ray vision, you little pervert.
That
was it. I don't think they intended for it to be creepy. But I was like, okay, girl, chill, girl.
Like, all right, girl.
Don't be counting the
I was like, Alex ain't the only one looking for a wife now. Y'all was laughing at fans when they was talking about Supercore, but you the one looking at all her tattoos. So, who's super curious now?
They're totally baiting the Supercore people with that. Now, I liked Kate Kane as the Ruby as Kate Kane, like as the.
I liked her as Kate Kane. I didn't like her as Batwoman.
Batwoman needed a lot of work. It was very stiff. It was like, what do I think Batman would look like as a woman, like act like as a woman, kind of thing.
I think that was
completely agree.
Done very poorly.
That was also another part of it was that Batwoman is Selena Kyle, right?
No, there's a Batwoman that is...
No, Catwoman. Catwoman is Selena Kyle.
Yeah, Catwoman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Batwoman, is that really Batman's cousin?
I have no idea.
Where did that lore come from? Because I don't remember hearing that. But, because I was like, what's all this cousin, crime-fighting teams? I don't know. But yeah, Kara was being a little bit...
Yeah, probably just a lazy way. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they are cousins in the comic book, but it felt like a very obvious way for them to set up a parallel between, like, hey, I'm Kara. I know what it's like to have a really famous cousin who saves people's lives. You know, that it felt more like it was trying to touch on that and sort of, you know, create a connection between the two on that basis. But I agree. I liked her as Kate Kane. Is that her name? Kate Kane? I don't know. Child, I wasn't paying that much attention.
That sounds about right.
I did not love her as Batwoman, but I think she can grow into it and get better. I think I'm just a little bit spoiled. I tell people all the time, I'm still trash. I still watch Gotham. And the female characters there are just so campy and over the top, and they just feel like they're having fun. And I wish, and it's an unfair, compare the two. But I wish it felt like she was having more fun as Batwoman. Even
being a very stoic character, she can still kind of, you know, have a little glint to it, which I really like.
Yeah.
But I also think that is why we got such a good showing out of Hoechlin this round, is because I think when he talks about this a lot, the first couple of times that he played Superman, he was like, I really want to be reverential and I really want to be respectful to the character, and I hope that I do a good job. And so we got a very 1950s Clark where it's like, oh, gee shucks, and hey, Kara.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you're on the CW. If you don't loosen the hell up.
Right. Take your shirt off. Come on, Superman, And so I think when he got to play Bizarro Superman, it allowed him to loosen up Clark and that Superman, and then as well as be a little deranged, because there were times where he actually sounded in voice like Deegan. And my number one issue with Hoechlin is that voice. And he had so much control of it, especially towards the end. The more that he lost control as the character, the more control that he had, that he was able to kind of like manipulate his voice and manipulate the tone and the timbre. I thought he did an outstanding job. And I was just like, this is what I want to see from you. This is what I want to see.
It just felt like a delivery on all of the undelivered promises from Teen Wolf. Like, this is what I wanted. This is what I wanted. I wanted him to be having fun.
Yes.
To just, be in his element, be a little bit less uptight and just go with it.
And to understand what he was doing. There was a clear understanding. And that's one thing. With Teen Wolf, there's so many times that I know they were given scripts and they had no clue, like, why am I doing this? Right. And I'm sure that there were sometimes they were given scripts where it was just like a phonetic reading, where it's like, I'm just going to say a bunch of words in some sort of order and hope that it all comes out in the wash. And I felt that they understood that I felt that he understood the story. When one of the best parts when he came in from saving the kids and there was like, oh, great job with saving the kids. And he was like, oh, Superman. He was like, but you did a good job. And he's like, really? And they were like, yeah. And they were like, okay. It was just like, oh, so good. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. It's so nice. I watched it twice. Here, and
I just think how much more he could do with a full show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
If he wasn't just like being like flown in for a couple episodes and being like, boom, immerse yourself in this character again randomly. But if he was literally like with a full story,
with the support, just having the support, having a non-rapey showrunner and cast of that's supportive and that is helpful and not leeches and just someone that like actually cares. I think that would do wonders for him. So I'd be very happy to see it.
Yeah, same.
And that's I'm like, because we talk a lot about what we think his trajectory like is going to be, and one of the main issues was that it almost seemed like he didn't know. And we're like, you can't really give the performance of your life if you don't know what it is that you want to do, if you're not sure where your love is. And it's like, yeah, you can do sports movies all day long and you'll do perfectly fine because you love sports, so you're going to look good doing it and it'll be fine. But when you make an investment in something like this and you pull out that kind of performance, it lets us know, oh, okay, this is something that you want to do. So now let's get to the point of you doing it.
Yeah, and I'll say, I'll take it back. If they do a limited run series, I'll check it out. But, I had a lot of feels. I felt very nostalgic watching him. And I was like, oh my God, I remembered, like, this is why I loved him.
Yeah.
Between that and seeing my boo-boo and Thickums,
yes. Well, now he's all old Roy, and I don't know what's going on.
I will not hold it against this show. I will not hold it against a prospective Superman show if it tramples all over Supergirl. Like, I know that you're proposing this, like, way to respect the Supergirl so it doesn't trample all over it. But if they come out with a version that just tramples all over it and, like, completely takes over its space, I would not mind at all. I'm watching that.
I personally wouldn't mind, but...
Yeah, I mean, listen, in a perfect world, I'd like to see both of them thrive, that being said, the way that crossover was set up, I mean, they just really did not sort of make me feel like, oh, I want more of her, and I wanted more of Thickums and the Superwedges. That's what I
It's like they can't help themselves, and that's a problem, because even at the beginning when she was like, oh,
but
yeah.
Is it her?
I do think a lot of it.
At some point, you have to question: is it her?
But we talked about this during the cage match scenes when she was in that prison. Her eyes. Who allowed that to happen for so many scenes?
Y'all were killing me with the coke eyes.
Y'all. Because as soon as you see them, you could not unsee them. And every time the camera went to her, I was like, seriously? Her eyes are still that bugging. Nobody yelled cut. Nobody said, hey, girl, can we get another take of this and maybe less coke eyes?
Your eyes are like a 10, and we need you to just, be a little bit more aware, like dim those puppies down to a smooth 3 or 4.
Just bring them to a 3, baby. Just bring them to, just blink and only open halfway. And now do your lines.
I don't know. I don't watch enough of that show to sort of make a judgment call.
And that's her. Yes.
Like, I thought that I feel like they probably didn't think about it at the time.
Yes.
But to me, she reminds me a lot of, in the way that Kara is portrayed, that she feels very similar to sort of the portrayal of Barry Allen. She feels very like Grant Gustin-esque, like, to me, like, super positive and upbeat.
Well, is
and
she
and charming? But the thing I'll say about Grant Gustin, when they give him meaty emotional stuff to deal with, that motherfucker will make you cry when he get to talking about his dead mama.
Right.
I mean,
yes.
He's got range that I haven't seen her portray. But in all fairness to her, I've seen her in the crossovers, and then I watch like the musical episodes.
They don't give it to her.
Yeah,
I've seen 2.5 seasons, and as a viewer, why should I have to put myself through more than 2.5 seasons to see if you got it?
No. Fair point. If you haven't gotten it yet, baby, she ain't delivering.
Because,
because I see her, and it's just like there's something. And the thing is that she had it when she would do her scenes with Callista. Callista Flockhart would bring it out of her. But the minute they lost Callista, it was gone.
I feel like, and that's the other part, is because most people only watch these during the crossover. I wonder does Kara on the show, is she like a manic pixie dream girl? Does she have a Zooey Deschanel kind of new girl thing where she's like kind of quirky and kind of...
But it's not cute. It's not cute the way Zoe is.
Okay.
The CW loves that trope.
Right.
CW loves them, and I can't. It's why I'm not going to talk about which characters I have an issue with because of that, because I ain't trying to have people up in my mentions.
She said, you can at me, boo. You can at me. But no, because...
I fucking love that trope.
Because, there was a part earlier where Barry was like, oh, maybe we need to start acting like each other. And she burst out of the house like, oh, superhero, you guys, but this is what I was trying to say. You try acting like her, and then you try being all gruff and talking like him. And I'm like, you're telling him to access dark pain to do his job. Like, do you understand what you're saying, girl? Like, what? What is this?
Right.
What are you doing?
It doesn't make any sense. And to that point, can I just say how much, I said this in the chat when we were doing the live watch, the dragging of Oliver
my God
fucking Cole over the first 2 episodes, it was like chicken noodle soup for my soul. It was like
Iris West was like, I don't want you to be him. I don't like him.
Which is a little, it's kind of interesting, and I know some Arrow fans. So I've been like, fuck Felicity and Oliver since they ruined Iris and Barry's wedding. Like, fuck them. And I said that in my mentions. They really did ruin that wedding that I had been waiting several seasons for. So that being said, like, it was interesting that they sort of took that turn, having Iris being the one to sort of lead the dragging in the very first episode, because Mama just kicked it off, like, Barry, don't do that. You know he's not my type. Because in
right.
Iris totally had a crush on Oliver.
Mm-hmm.
And she was, thirsting over him a little bit. So it was, listen, people can grow, people can change, they grow up, their tastes change, like, I like Derek Hale, but now I like Thickums. I like thick, Superman in the wedges. Like, I get it. We can evolve, change, and growth is wonderful. That being said, it was a little bit weird for them to sort of take that turn with her and have her be sort of the voice of, like, questioning and things like that with Oliver, because she was clearly thirsting over him in earlier seasons, and a lot of Arrow fans took issue with it, and I get it. That being said, I don't give a shit, because I'm not Oliver Queen, because he's trash.
I haven't watched him forever, but
neither
my
have I.
thing with Oliver is I just don't blame Oliver for any of his actions. I just blame the writers for trying to make it darker and more whatever, and I just don't blame Oliver for anything, because I refuse to believe Oliver did anything he did.
I do blame Oliver because he's trifling.
But Oliver was a mess from the first episode when he cheated on his girlfriend with his girlfriend's sister.
Right.
What kind of standards were we supposed to have?
And how is Barry gonna bring that back up? That made me laugh.
The fact that my beloved Bartholomew Henry Allen brought that shit up, I was like, yes, Barry.
And he was like, but you did. I was like, Barry, you ain't no good either.
Like, I cannot with Oliver. My thing is, I think my frustration, okay, now I'm about to go on an arrow tangent. Here's my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oliver is trash, and he's like a murdery type of trash, right? My thing is, this would all be so much more enjoyable if he just leaned into it. I don't want to
yes.
seasons with you having angst over it. Like, because you can grow, and his character has certainly grown and changed, but, like, you're still trash, and every now and then we're going to have a little bit of lighthearted fun at your expense because you were a straight-up trash can hooker. Like, when he's not...
It's a dumpster fire. Hot
a
trash.
Dumpster fire. Like, when he was like, oh, I think I slept with this journalist, and then Barry comes back and says, oh, yeah, I totally slept with her. And I'm like, I love callbacks to trashy, messy Oliver. He was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did miss unapologetic Oliver.
Exactly. Unapologetic trash Oliver. I do enjoy that.
That's it. It's like, I don't judge him. We're all trash in our respective ways. Every day I do something, I'm like, ooh, I'm back on my bullshit.
Right.
When you have those moments, just be like, well, fuck it. Someone got to get this work done. Somebody's got to take these criminals
I'm about to
down.
say the recycling's got to get to the curb somehow. I got to fill up this bin some way.
Exactly. Unless you got a suggestion for a better way to do this, you just need to sit there and eat your food. And you can talk when you're bringing something to the table. But until then, I'm going to Oliver Queen it all up over this place. So... But, oh my God, the dragging of Oliver over those first 2 episodes. I'm like,
so
funny. Can we make this an annual tradition? Because I would be front center.
So,
I feel like it was kicking someone while they were down. And, like,
but
seriously,
I think
has Oliver ever been so down in his season before?
I think that's part of his thing, though, because wherever he's down, he's going to get back up.
I was just happy that we got that. I like Oliver and Felicity, no matter what most of these people think. And so I was happy we got that moment of them kind of having that, I love you and I still love you, even if we're growing to be different people kind of thing moment. And I'm hoping that translates later on.
I do too. And listen, like I said, I want to.
Oh, I'm not even. I promise, I'm not even talking about you. I have a friend who hates Oliver and Felicity.
Oh, I mean, listen, I will never forgive them for ruining Iris and Barry's wedding. But that being said, I've always liked the two of them together. But like, Oliver is totally into like humiliation kink, right? I mean, he's the one who wants you to be like, tell me I ain't shit. I mean, that's kind of his jam. So I don't feel bad when people are dragging him because I feel like that's sort of what gets his
That's what gets him going?
I mean, I think so.
Revisiting what you were talking about, the ditzy qualities,
Mm-hmm.
CW was Felicity in the beginning. That ditzy quality that Emily Rickards did was...
Listen, the fucking worst.
But she was so good at it.
She was...
It made zero sense for somebody so, like, confident with a hacker background and for, so intelligent and stuff like that. But she was so good at it.
I thought she was very charming at it, and I think that's what makes it more frustrating when they bring on characters later on, and it feels like they're trying to sort of replicate that formula, and it's like, no. This works with this character.
Yes.
With this character. We don't need to do this every time, trying to sort of take this formula.
Because not everyone can pull that off. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't just the character, it's the actress, and that's what I'm getting at with Melissa, is that there are things that she can't carry, and instead of trying to force characteristics on her, they really need to just start building Kara based on her.
Well, the problem is that Kara has an RBF. Yeah, Melissa has an RBF, and she actually has more of a icy glint to her, but they try to have her be this fun, preppy summer blonde, and that's not how she comes off, because she had that same problem with Glee, where they tried to have her be this really sweet, innocent, summer child, and a lot of people hated her because it just did not read that way. They refused to cast her in roles that really work for her, and instead what they try to do with Supergirl is they try to straddle that fence of, like, giving her a little bit of an edge, but still keeping her on this, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? Ooh, I'm such a girl. Ooh, girl power. You're just like, okay. So, there's a lot going on and then not much going on. So, I found out Rudy Hale says that Kate Kane is Bruce Wayne's cousin. Her father is Bruce's mother's brother.
Okay.
So there we go. Bruce's mother's name is Martha Kane.
I was about to say, okay, Martha. Mm-hmm.
So Martha Kane married Bruce Wayne.
Mm-hmm.
Or Bruce Wayne's daddy, Dick Wayne.
And, correct me if I'm wrong, Isaac, but there's, different comics where there's different versions of where some of that is true and some of that just doesn't happen.
Right. Someone did say it still felt like a I too am a cousin scene. And that made me laugh.
That's what it was. It was very much like I too am a cousin.
I too am
Girl,
a cousin.
I can totally relate. Yeah. Yeah, I'm interested, I'm jumping ahead a little bit here, but, that basically this whole crossover set us up for Crisis on Infinite Earths for the next crossover, and I'm just curious to see, how far they take that. Are they going to change things? Are, the relationships, the dynamics, I'm very curious to see sort of whether or not they use that to change sort of the course going forward with the shows when they go back to their, business as usual after the crossover is over. Because it's really an opportunity. They could use it as a reboot to completely switch things up, which it would be interesting. It would be bold.
Okay. Well, someone said that this season, Supergirl's current season is topical. They try to do the aliens equals illegal alien storyline with people wanting to keep aliens out of, quote unquote, our country, and people trying to round up aliens. Plus, there is a Russian Supergirl lookalike that they tease all the time. So she's not so much New Girl and more Pollyanna this season. Can't we all talk and get along? Supergirl dealing with politics. I've been watching a lot of Outlander. And Outlander is a terrible show, but also evidently it's my new favorite show and I'm obsessed with it and I love it. Even though it's terrible and it's trash. But they literally have... It's becoming like the Forrest Gump of Scottish mystical love stories, where everything that has happened between the Scottish Revolution to the New World Revolution happens to this couple. And now they're in the new world, and of course, the guy's family owns slaves, and
you are not convincing me to watch this show, by the way.
Oh no, I'm not going to ask you to watch Outlander. I'm telling you to watch.
Did.
No, no. Do not get it twisted. I told you to watch Black Sails. Black Sails all day, every day. That show is amazing.
People keep telling me to watch that show.
Girl.
And every time I try to watch the first season, I fall asleep within 3 episodes, and everyone's like, no, it's better by the second season. So then my follow-up question is, well, can I just fucking skip the first season? And I'm like, no. You understand that does not entice me to want to watch. If I keep falling asleep in the first season, but you're telling me I gotta watch it.
You have to.
I'm not gonna get anywhere.
No, you have to. Okay, so here's what you do. You watch 2 episodes, then you go about your business, you do something else. Watch a couple more episodes, go about your business. Do that till you get through the first season. By the time you do that, then you'll want to binge. But give yourself a little space between the first few episodes, because it really is kind of a culture shock. And at first you're like, ugh, who wants to watch a show about pirates? Pirates, yeah, it's a big old whatever.
It took you like the first 3/4 of the season before it got good.
Exactly. Except unlike Riverdale, it stays good and it gets great.
That is the most practical viewing advice I've ever gotten on Black Sails. So I will retry it with that approach. Now wait, okay, since we're talking about random shows though, have y'all watched Claws? Because I feel like Claws is up your alley.
No, okay,
yes,
so I didn't watch Claws for a long time, but almost because of the Black Sails thing. Because I thought Claws was about one thing, and then I found out Claws was about something totally different. So now I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to watch Claws. I thought Claws was a sitcom about a hair salon. And then they were like, oh, no, boo-boo. You need to watch Claws. So I was like, okay.
Definitely. When you were looking for show recommendations, and I told you Pose, what I should have said was Claws.
Yes.
Because you're right. You watch Pose at work, you're going to be crying.
Yes.
But you watch Claws, that shit is good.
Okay.
I need you Claws.
It's on the list.
But so much sex.
Yes! And I'm
here for that sex scene, especially the one at the beginning with that.
No spoilers.
From the first season.
I'll see, but yeah, Black Sails has a lot of that too. So and Outlander, they are just boning constantly. I was like, good Lord, y'all.
I heard Outlander has a lot of sex too. I am, and you won't appreciate this, Sticky, until you watch the show, but I am basically Roller trash. Roller ain't shit.
He's so hot.
But he is so freaking hot. No, he like resist it.
He's the biggest trash baby ever.
But love him.
He is a trash box, but I fucking love me some Roller. And you'll be in the first episode. You too will join us in the Roller dumpster.
Okay. I can't wait. But so the entire point was on Outlander. They have this whole thing where, like, okay, so dude's family has this plantation, and she's like, oh, I want to leave it to you. And he's like, oh, I didn't ken if I can own slaves, and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, I possibly can't own slaves, Jamie. Oh, and then it becomes this whole thing, and they're dealing with topical issues, and of course, it's like, white people who mean well, and so of course everything goes terribly for the people of color on the show, and it's just like, oh god, this is just and so when I think about how badly this very well-meaning show deals with people of color and LGBT issues, and how wonderfully Black Sails, a completely period typical show that does so well with diversity and inclusion, LGBT. It is about pirates, so there is a lot of rape. You have to deal with that. But for the most part, everything else is on point. It's so good. I literally just watched the finale, and I was just like, I had to pause it, and I just kept rewinding parts of the last episode, because I was like, I know the end is coming, and I know I'm going to cry, and I know that once I watch it, it'll be done. And I'm just not ready. I'm not ready. I know how it ends. And I don't care. I'm not ready. It's so good. So good. All right. Gee Obsession says, I have to say that Heck did a very good job, specifically with Black Suit Superman, Superwedges. Superwedges.
Superwedges.
I like him better than the regular version. I always thought that Heck could take a dark role. This is his finest work up to this day. Now I need him to try to improve how to differentiate Clark and Superman. That's also true. Because there's not enough to keep that apart as there was between the bad and good versions of Superman. And I need to learn that diamonds don't work that way. Science people, yeah. Him and his princess cut. I was like, come on now, Clark. I know that you go. Now, if he had put that cold between his cheeks and then squeezed, I might expect.
If he had made that diamond between his ass cheeks, it would have been riveting. I would have written essays that would have been a monument to that shit. That would have been hands down my favorite moment of television in 2018.
Oh, all the Emmys.
Exactly. And we're talking about a year in which we got, is this the year? Wait, I'm trying to think. When did we get Kit Harington's ass cheeks during the boat sex scene? Was that 2017? Okay, no. One, the best performance for 2 scoops of butter pecan. Yeah, I would have given it to him.
Mm-hmm.
Just to revisit, though, Tyler has gotten better at his Clark each and every time.
But I will agree with Guy that his Clark and his Superman are becoming indistinguishable. And I do actually blame a little bit of that on the writing, because at this point, they're not even trying to hide it. They're like, oh, no, you're definitely Clark and you're Superman, and everybody knows it. And I guess...
I think it's a difference, because in this scene, we see that Clark is talking to Kara on an isolated farm with Lois.
Right, or he's talking to one of the supers.
There's no need to put up the Clark image the way he would have when he was at Catco.
Mm-hmm.
Before, where he was at that media agency where he was pretending to be Clark Kent in front of people. So, I mean, I think that makes a difference.
Yeah. Well, or in front of the supers. He just didn't seem to mind in front of them either. And because she was just like, here, Clark, go take this book, Clark. And I was like, what? Call him Soups. Come on, girl. But yeah.
Yes, I agree, Isaac. It is the Superman that's gotten better. The Clark was pretty nailed.
No, I think the Clark has gotten better.
The difference between the difference between the two, or switching between the two, has gotten better, but could get better. I think it would be a lot better if it was a full show.
Right.
Because he's just brought in to do this, in 1 or 2 or 3 episodes, it's a lot more difficult to do.
Yeah, I think he's got, if this were to end up being a spin-off, I thought he showed that he's got what it takes. I think he could handle it. I mean, I'm just so happy that he just looks like he's having fun and getting a chance to sort of spread his wings. And I think he would completely, sort of commit to this idea of making the distinctions between Clark and Superman. I believe in you, Tyler.
Right. We believe in you.
That was a question.
Someone says, Tempest, Fareed, he says, I feel like if they let Cavill, who is an adorable dork in real life, put more of himself into the character. Oh, okay. So this is in response to an ask that said that Cavill was an adorable dork in real life. It says, I don't think Cavill is an adorable dork in real life, or at least he changed. There are rumors, reports about him being very hard to work with. He also demanded A- lister status from Warner Brothers for Superman 2, even though he isn't one, which led to Superman 2 being delayed, and Warner Brothers likely recasting him. Also, there are rumors about him being in the closet, which is why Warner Brothers doesn't want him as Supes anymore. There are always kind of those rumors going around. Did he get married? I'd heard that he was trying to, like, get Rush married so he could prove how gay he wasn't. And it was just like, oh, honey.
Listen, okay, here's the thing. I really love Henry Cavill.
Really?
And I loved him.
Did you watch The Tudors?
Yeah, that's it.
There we go. Okay.
That is when I fell in love with him as Charles, the Duke of Suffolk. He was everything.
Oh, Cavilicious.
Yes, and when he was cast as Superman, I was like, yes, this makes total sense. This is perfect. I think on paper and physically, he fits the bill. I don't put the shortcomings of his portrayal as Superman at his feet. I put it at the feet of the writers, and because I just feel like they just take too much of a serious tone and don't let him have any fun. And the few moments where he does, they allow him to sort of loosen up a bit and have a little bit fun. Like, I love in Justice League where he does that super slow-mo side-eye at the Flash when the Flash is like, I'm like, give us more of these moments. That being said, Henry is also a proud member of the Trash Box Club. Homeboy has some questionable dating practices, and I can't call it, I don't know. But here's what I do know. I know that he was like a smooth, like, damn near 40 years old, and he was dating like that 19-year-old for a while.
Oh.
A little bit questionable.
Mm-hmm.
And then he had that, like, rush engagement with the girl that was, like, the equestrian that he was supposed to marry. And that didn't work out. And then he dated, what's her name? Katie Cuoco, is that her name?
Cuomo.
I think it's Cuoco.
Oh, yes. No, you're right. Yeah.
She sort of has a trend of, like, dating people and you know, and she sort of feels like a Tom Cruise kind of person. Like, it feels like her dating habits are driven by, like, paparazzi.
Her dating habits have expiration dates.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And he dated for the longest time. I think his most long-term relationship, what's her name? Is it Gia Karanga or Karanja? She's, like, the MMA fighter. Like an action actress. I think she ended up in one of those superhero movies, but they dated for a long time.
Karanji.
Before he started dating like the teenagers and the barely legal girls. I don't know what his is. Yes. I don't know what his deal is. He's just, I don't know. There is something going on there. I don't know what it is. I don't know.
Well, she's 36.
She was age appropriate, but like those 19-year-olds, that's not where it was at.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, just admit that you're fucking. I mean, because this ain't a relationship. How about you just don't even tell us? It's none of our business. We don't need you to publicize all of this. Like, keep that shit to yourself.
Well, I think the problem with Henry, he got a weird, I think because of the weird success that he got from the Tudors, because he gained a very, very avid fan base from the Tudors. Mm-hmm. There were people who would have no idea who Henry Cavill was, and there are people who will be like, oh, let me tell you who Henry Cavill is, you know, like,
hi.
Right, exactly. And so I feel like they thought that he was ready for Superman, and I just don't think he was ready for that amount of scrutiny. And so, I think he fought back against it, and then I think it was just this tug of war of fighting against it, then trying to accept it, then fighting against it, then trying to accept it, and now we're just in this weird kind of tete-a-tete with it.
But it was the writing, too. Something was off.
Oh, yeah, the whole theme and the whole tone.
Yeah.
Especially with Ben Affleck as Batman. And it's like, when you get to the point where you're pretty sure that Batman wants to sit down and have a smoke and a drink, then you're like, oh. This is a different movie. You know.
Listen, I also have a whole host of theories that I feel like Henry Cavill is older than he says he is. But that's a whole other story for now.
Right.
because there was, I remember when he was on the Tudors and I was like sort of hardcore into him and I was, doing my Googles and all that good stuff. And he had been up for consideration for Superman before. And my understanding is that the reason why he didn't get it is because they basically told him, you're too old for the part. And so, I don't know, maybe it's possible that they reconsidered because they're like, okay, we can skew him a little bit older. But I feel like he's fudged some numbers in the mix, too. I feel like he's probably a smooth, 3 to 5 years older than whatever his Wikipedia currently says that he is. There's just a lot about him that I just feel like is a little bit...
You just kind of side-eye all the things.
Yeah, and because, because of the thirst, you want to, overlook these things, but... when stuff just adds up, it's like, yeah, something ain't quite right with you. That being said, I thought it was interesting on Twitter, to see people sort of giving their rankings of, Superman portrayals. I still like Henry Cavill as Superman. I don't fault him. I fault the writing. I don't think that he's necessarily the problem. I think it's the concept and how Superman has been sort of conceptualized in more recent history that's the problem, not... not Henry.
I really liked him in Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And what's the other one? The movie he is an army.
Uncle?
Man from Uncle. Yes. Oof.
Was he in that with Armie Hammer?
Yes.
I just love Armie Hammer.
when they let Henry have some fun, he's a good time, and I'm like,
he's just
Superman
magnetic.
Does not have to be this uptight. He does not. He really doesn't. And frankly, if we're being fair, I think Brandon Routh kind of got a raw deal because I think on paper he's also a really great Superman.
Yes.
That movie he was in, it was a terrible fucking
that
movie.
That script was a mess.
Yeah.
It was a mess.
But he did with it what he could. And I don't think he's scarred by Superman. And I think that people, I think he has enough nostalgia to work off of him. He is one, though, that I wish would have gotten a TV show of a Superman rather than the movie. Because he's always one where I'm like, oh, I loved his show. And then I'm like, wait, he didn't have a show. But then I was like, did I watch his movie? And then I was like, oh, Brandon. I'm like, I would have liked it.
I like him, but I feel like I would have gotten bored with him a lot faster than I would have with Tyler.
Oh, well, yeah. Well,
he's good. It's just I would have gotten bored with him eventually. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Maybe. I will say,
I don't root for him. When it was Felicity and him, I didn't root for him.
Oh,
the way I rooted for Barry and Felicity at the beginning. Remember when you thought it was going to be a Barry Felicity thing?
I
for a little bit.
That lie.
But just for a little bit. Not even for a little bit.
She said the devil is a lie.
Not even just while she was with Eddie thing.
No. I mean, maybe. I remember that episode where they went on a date and they basically decided they didn't have any chemistry. And I was like, oh, thank God.
Oh, I remember what you're talking about. That's who he was. Okay, I didn't like him then.
Felicity showed up with her freakum dress on. And I was like, oh, okay. But I think for me, aside from me sort of being very strongly against anything that undermines Iris and Barry, I always very strongly felt that Felicity and Oliver were in game. So it was hard to sort of take it serious when she would have these flirtations and date other people. Although I'm glad they let her do it because Oliver, we have previously acknowledged, and we're not knocking Oliver for sowing his oats. But my thing is, I'm not here for this expectation that she has to be this chaste, virgin-like character that ends up with him. No, I want her to get some other dick too. Let her get some strains.
Right.
Give her, let her get,
let her get the brother.
They let her sort of dibble and dabble with other people. I think it was for the best. But that being said, oh my God, the way that they wrote Brandon Routh's character, Ray, in the beginning, he was low-key stalking her. It was it was not, it was supposed to, I think, sort of be him, supposed to be him showing this interest in her, but it just came off as super creepy and dude, calm the fuck down. this shit ain't cool. Like, it's not attractive. It's not a turn on for you because it's creepy. And I don't really think he got better until...
But he kind of does that to his characters because Ray Palmer is kind of like that with, what's her name? She plays... daughter? No, in Legends, when he's with that, she's the hot girl.
Who did he date? I'm trying to think. Oh, wait. He did date someone on Legends. Who the hell was it, though? Shit.
Hot girl, Legends of Tomorrow. What's her name?
He totally did have a thing with someone, and I cannot remember who it is.
Clara, Renee.
Nora?
No,
it wasn't Nora. Oh my god. Because that was like one of the earlier seasons of Legends. Yeah, it is sort of part of his character. I thought that they just really improved his character significantly once he got to Legends and sort of moved past some of the stalkerish behavior. I mean, he like offered her a job. It was just weird. It was not, he did not have a great introduction, but they...
Is it Zari?
Kendra.
Oh, Kendra.
Yes, because, yes. It was Kendra.
He did the same weird kind of like guilt you into loving me thing with her too. And it was like...
Yes, it was total. You know, I had completely rejected the fact that Hawk Girl and Hawkman were a thing that actually happened on Legends.
Because they were kind of problematic themselves, the whole Hawk Girl, Hawk Guy thing.
Problematic and not fucking interesting. It's like, if you're going to be this problematic, you at least need to be...
Go for it.
It's like, y'all are not either one of these. To just
you know what? They didn't go for it. They didn't go all the way. If they had really gone all the way and made it problematic, it would have been interesting.
Yeah, but it also didn't help that actress did some problematic things. Like, I don't know if you guys remember, she's like biracial, and she like did this whole thing where she was like, "Oh no, I'm a white woman, a European woman," and it was just, it was a mess. Don't get me started on that.
Who was the actress?
Huh?
Who was the actress?
Oh, what the hell?
Ciara Renee?
Yes, Ciara Renee.
Oh, okay.
She is
messy.
That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so
it's not good at the social media thing.
The next question, there was a what a mess. The next question, so there was a question yesterday where someone was like, I think Superman is a good role for Tyler, but I don't think that his acting has improved that much. And I'm like, girl, then you weren't watching. But it says, I think he's very lucky. The writing for Superman is good. And I was like, wow.
Thank you, next.
And it says, right. It says, and that's it. Let's say people pleasing. It's more that people like the writing and words Superman is saying, so they automatically like the performance. But the acting is still often flat, not only from him, but Bitsy as well.
I feel like I know exactly who this is.
Write in the chat who you think it is. So it says, e.g., because I'm wondering, e.g., the writers write cute words for Clark, and that automatically makes Clark cute. That means that Tyler looks cute. So I replied, I think you're grossly overestimating the writing. And I said, we'll talk about it more tomorrow. So then they replied and said, well, I don't think that, I know, right? And this is where I was like, okay, we definitely need to have a talk about this because this turned into some nonsense. Even more so. So it says, I think you grossly overestimate the writing. And it says, people thought that Posey was great as Scott in the first season because he was... girl. Because...
Oh, never mind. This is someone else.
Right. Because he... Oh, right. Because he was written very likable. You don't even need good writing, but just a character that people like or whose storyline people like. For Superman, it's he's proposing to her. Clark is having an shucks moment. They're at the original Kent farm. And then how cool that evil Superman showed up. And I'm
let
like,
me be very...
let me tell you all the ways that you're wrong.
I mean, seriously. We should have started with this question because we could have talked a smooth 3 hours about this shit. Okay, here's what I'm gonna say. For me, the whole proposal, all that bullshit, maybe it's because I'm just dark and dead on the inside. None of that shit did anything for me. I didn't give a shit about that. I really didn't pay attention to, like,
not at all.
Performances. It's like, oh, he crushed a diamond in his hand. Whoop-de-whoop. Okay, is the episode over? Because I'm ready. I'm done. I've done 3 hours of this shit now. I'm ready to move on with my life. That being said, I just cannot, the idea that writing on any show,
girl,
on the CW is
right,
is to be credited for a performance. Like, listen, reasonable minds can differ, mileage may vary. I don't agree. I thought that Hoechlin was delightful playing the dark versus the good role. Like we said before, he was having fun.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not talking about, like, award-winning writing here. It's basic pumpkin-ass spice latte fucking writing. And I mean, all you can do is ask for the performers to just have fun with it and take ownership of it. And you're talking to someone who has suffered through a lot of these CW shows. And the writing, it's okay. It is serviceable. But I think it would be unfair to him to say that the writing somehow made his portrayal of Clark and Superman, better, and that's why we're sort of fawning all over it. No, I think he was having fun. Listen, is he gonna get nominated for a fucking Emmy or whatever? No, but
he might get a People's Choice. He might get a surfboard.
Yeah, it was entertaining, and I think that he deserves some credit for a good performance.
I'll say this, the Nani kind of stepped on their own toes because they started out saying that I don't think his acting has improved. And then they went on to say, well, during season 1 of Teen Wolf, people liked Scott because da-da-da-da. But I'm like, but what did they say during season 6?
Yeah. And I mean, I didn't watch season 1 of Teen Wolf and say, oh my God, this Tyler Posey give this dude all the roles. I was like, he's cute and dopey and adorable, and I'm entertained. Like, I was not...
Exactly.
I feel like if you were just reading the script itself,
right,
it would what we would see would be reduced to the points that that poster laid out. The moments of, oh, we're at the farm. Oh, here's the diamond. Oh, here we're doing it love. The point is that that's not what you're seeing us talk about for the past, 2 hours? And
he made choices, and you could see those
the things
choices.
That we're talking about.
Exactly.
The things that we're talking about is everything else that came in between.
Yes.
That's not there. That's not, explicitly written there for you. That's all Tyler.
Exactly.
And that's Tyler working with the creative team. Going back and forth, just creating this out of, practically nothing.
Exactly. And I was like, lost Jazmin. Lost Jocelyn. Yeah, and I feel like he definitely deserves the credit for that. Because he did a really good job.
That this is not Tyler Hoechlin's first time creating something out of nothing. Because let's remember what the script of Derek Hale was like season 1.
Yes, and what Derek Hale was supposed to be. That. Yes, exactly. 1000%. Let's see. Someone said, am I the only one who stands for Superman and Wonder Woman? I don't know. I guess I don't know enough about DC Universe to know whether to stand them or not. I guess I've always been Superman Lois. Who stands for Superman, Wonder Woman?
Oh, I don't care either way.
Yeah.
As a kid, I saw, Justice League or Super Friends, and, I used to watch the Dean Cain with Terry Hatchett the Adventures of Lois and Clark show.
Hello?
Hey.
So, I do have, fond memories of Superman, and so that's probably
But
why
that's
I'm
why
attached to the character.
That's why it's usually just Superman and Lois. I've never had have a history with Superman and Wonder Woman.
Are we talking about Superman and Wonder Woman or Supergirl?
Wonder Woman.
Oh, I like Wonder Woman a lot because I remember her from the cartoons, and so I did like the movie a lot. So yeah, I definitely love both.
Let's see.
And Gal Gadot is awesome. I really like her.
Okay, yeah, and I like Gal Gadot too, but I mean, as a romantic interest.
Oh. How does that work? Is like Lois dead or something?
I don't know.
I mean, it's shipping, so ship whatever you want.
Well, that baby's gonna kick a hole in that stomach, so maybe.
They'll be like, Daddy, where you been?
I know, right? Here, I'm gonna, Jocelyn said she got in the room, but she couldn't hear, so we're gonna try to get her back in. Then someone says, 2 separate podcasts now have said that the crossover felt more like a backdoor pilot for Superman than Batwoman. And that, from what they've seen, they'd rather watch Superman, which makes me wonder what the CW has planned, if they have a plan at all.
Okay, I'm back. I can hear you guys, and fuck you, CW, for trying to cut off my...
I know, right? We were just going...
For Jazmin, I want to hear what she thinks.
Yes. We were just going through the inbox. Someone said 2 separate podcasts have said that the crossover felt more like a backdoor pilot for Superman than Batwoman. And that from what they've seen, they'd rather watch Superman, which makes me wonder what the CW has planned, if they have a plan at all. Do you think the CW can support a Gotham show?
Nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
I don't think so either.
I think they probably got wind of the fact that Gotham on Fox is ending, and maybe that was a potential opportunity to delve into those waters, but I think they've already reiterated the fact that Batman is going to continue to be off limits. So it just very much felt like, let's just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And I think the thing that stuck was Superman, and that they will probably proceed accordingly based on that feedback. I would be shocked. I'm sure there were people that loved, Batgirl and loved Kane and loved her portrayal, but it felt like by the time they got to the writer's room, it was very clear that they felt more strongly about the potential of Lois and Clark and, baby Superwedges and wanted to see where they could go with that. I mean, because like we said, Supergirl was sort of an afterthought to her own show. And yeah, Batgirl got some play, but it wasn't, to me, it just felt like, I think that they probably had like really ambitious ideas and goals when they were in the casting phase. But by the time they got to the writer's room and really sort of dug in and thought about conceptually what made more sense, I don't see this as being sort of a backdoor to a Batgirl pilot. It certainly feels like a backdoor to a Superman pilot or some sort of Superman-related pilot.
They need to make a decision about what... They either need to come hard and be like, no Superman pilot. We're just going to have him come in for the crossovers and do guest stars and that kind of thing. Or they need to be like, yeah, get ready, that kind of thing. Just because it's going to get frustrating after a while.
I'm kind of fine with them keeping it open-ended because I feel like if at any point there's any kind of enough momentum and an opening, they can go for it. But if they say they're not going to do it, I feel like then they feel like they can't do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think that some of the decisions might be influenced on like how the current slate of shows are doing. Like, I know that they've been renewed yet, but I think it's a foregone conclusion that like Arrow and The Flash, we know they'll be back. But I think that with the ratings, I think Supergirl, Legends, and Black Lightning are always a question. And I think if any of them if they were to decide to cancel any of them, it would give them that much more incentive to greenlight something else. So I could, I get sort of them wanting to keep it open rather than wanting to commit at this time, because I don't see all three of those shows moving on to another season.
Well,
I don't think they were anticipating Charmed and Legacies to be doing so well ratings wise.
Right. I agree.
But you know what's it's very interesting because especially with Legacies, although Legacies does have a built-in fandom, and so people were chomping at the bit waiting for Legacies to come out, and then and of course with Charmed. I do think that Charmed did kind of surprise everybody, though.
I'm just surprised that it carried over, because I knew it was going to start big, but it's so bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad.
There are people that love it. That's their show.
And it's such a huge letdown, because I remember the articles explicitly made a big deal about how it was led by 3 Latinas, and there's one. There is one Latina.
Oh, no.
When I read that article, that's when I was like, okay, I don't do the false advertising, and that's when I decided not to watch.
What happened to the other two?
The one of them is half black and half white. I think she's half white or Canadian Indian, and the other one is Caribbean black.
I think so. I wasn't here for it. I'm like, I'm not here for the I just.
But British or something.
I just say no.
Oh, wow.
And she cleared it up, on her own Twitter. She was like, don't believe everything you read. She stated her own race and everything. But
I also hate that, too, though, because it's like, that's an article. Don't come at me with, well, don't believe everything. It's an article.
Didn't they check in with your people? I mean, didn't your people confirm this?
Exactly. Hey, how about don't print lies? How about that?
And sell the show for what it is. Don't sell it as this one thing, and don't promote it as this one thing.
And it would have been fine. I mean, they could have rewritten the script with different fathers or whatever, and it could have still kind of worked. But they didn't.
So what I'm wondering about now is that so other scenario, which I hadn't thought about, but which actually makes the most sense. Because CW loves keeping these shows on forever.
I'm hoping Roswell tanks so that there's an opening.
Well, no. Actually, you kind of need it the other way around. They really need Supergirl to tank. Because if Supergirl tanks and then CW saves it with a Superman show...
Yep.
And then they bring those characters in. Then they have a way of having a Superman show without having Supergirl as the lead. Especially... I
don't know if I want a Superman show dragged down by Supergirl's character.
You stop that! You gotta have the best of both worlds, Philip.
But there's nothing good about Supergirl. They have, ruined everything. I mean, I think the only good thing from Supergirl is what? Martian Manhunter? That's left?
I love him. I love him when he pops up on the other shows. But I think that's the way that
they ruined Jimmy.
Yes, they did. And frankly, Jimmy ruined Jimmy when he, got caught up in some of that homophobic bullshit when they were insulting fans. But that's for another day.
Uh-huh.
But that being said, I think that's the way they save face, right? Because if they were to cancel Supergirl and say, oh, but we're going to totally give you a Superman show, people would very understandably be like, well, fuck that. You're going to cancel the show that features a female character. But I could see them selling it as some sort of reboot or revamp. And
well, especially if they get Lois involved. If you can get Lois on board and do Son of Superman, and you have Superman with a little baby, what?
Well, maybe instead of doing a son, they make Superman have a daughter and just change it.
Ooh.
Oh. That would be even better.
That would be amazing.
But, I mean, would they really give him creative license to do that?
I don't know, but that would be awesome.
It would. It would.
Oh my goodness, what a mess. I love it.
It's so messy. Just be happy to have a show. Fractions. But no, like, bringing over... I get it, like, what you're trying to go with, but bringing over any of those characters from that show would just drag any new Superman show to the ground.
Yep. But I agree with Sticky. If you sold it as a Lois-centric show, which very much felt like the agenda of the crossover, because, I mean, there was just times when I'm like, why the fuck is she here? And I'm not saying that in a negative way, but I'm just saying, like, seriously, like, y'all are really...
Well, especially when she came in with the the hammer of Thor, and then she was like, I'm going to go up on this ladder. I'm like, Hef, are you pregnant? Why are you climbing ladders? He's like, be careful, it's old. And she's like, you'll catch me. And I'm like, what's happening?
Yeah, it's very... I could totally see them
all them teeth
doing that and saying we're gonna cancel Supergirl, but here's the thing: we're gonna give you a Superman show, but guess what? It's not gonna be all about suits. It's gonna be about Lois.
Yeah.
And the wee BB Supergirl and Superman.
The wee baby Superman. I've been watching a lot of Archer, so they're just to the point of the wee baby Seamus.
Listen,
the wee baby shoots.
Seamus is my I love the wee baby Seamus.
I love it.
I refer to young people. I'm like, oh, it's the wee baby such and such.
Yes.
I love that show. I love wee baby Seamus is a G. Like, wee baby Seamus is just shit.
I love wee baby Seamus. And I love Trinette. I was like, yes. You're the only white girl I've ever known named Trinette. And it has the wee baby Seamus. I love it. Sterling Seamus. Oh, I love it. Okay, let me see if there's anything else in this inbox. Lots of stuff about Henry Cavill and Gal Gadot. Stuff I do not care about. Hope all y'all have y'all pillow forts set up. The 17th is in 2 days. Save all your dicks. Save all your... There's a wonderful new Discord, you guys. It's called... where is it? It is called Smut-101. And it is filled with smut gifs for inspiration, for writing. They have lots of different categories. So literally any kind that you want. Plus you can make requests and they will try to find stuff and put it in the different categories and stuff for you.
My favorite comment, my favorite tweet on Tumblr on their bullshit was from this drag queen, Shea Coulee, who used that gif from the Fresh Prince, like when he walks in the house and like all the furniture is gone and he's just looking around. And she was like, yeah, me logging on to Tumblr December.
Yes!
All the furniture moved from Tumblr. And I was like, same, sis.
Like, well, I mean, someone said they were on my page and there was porn, but I don't see anything. And I don't think I have ads enabled. Lord knows they ain't paying me no money. Let's see. When's past car? Okay. Oh yeah, and I did like Bitsy as Lois. I did like that they had a slightly older Lois. We talked about this a little bit last time, and I said this is one thing that Alexandra, I'm not a big fan of Alexandra Daddario. Her eyes kind of creep me out a little bit. They're a little too much for me. But she seems very nice. But one thing that she knows how to do is she knows how to play opposite a man of a certain persuasion. And I believe that Bitsy also has that gift. So I think she knows how to play against Hoechlin. I think that they have pretty good chemistry and that it worked well for them. It wasn't overly grody.
I'm glad someone said it because I just wasn't sure, like having not watched, the Supergirl episodes. I was like, so she is supposed to be like older than him, right?
Yeah, well,
no shade to her.
No, I know, right? I guess not in real life, but in the Superman world of things, aging on Krypton is slower. So Lois, I think Lois and him. No, I
Lois
thought it was...
ages regular, but Clark ages slower on Earth.
So Clark is officially older than her, but looks younger.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That would explain.
Because she's like 37 or something like that in real life, and I think she's in her 30s on the show. And so, yeah, and then, you know, with her being preggers and whatnot. And so, yeah, I did like that they kind of stayed true to that instead of having like a super young Lois.
That makes a whole... I like it much more now that I have the explanation. It just wasn't apparent to me. And I had a lot of questions. And then, you know, when you have these questions in your head, you're like, oh my God, am I being ageist? This is terrible. Like,
right.
You know, like, you're like...
is there a reason for this?
Right. Like, trying to figure out, like, are they trying to tell me that Tyler is supposed to be playing a little bit older? Like, it was just...
Right.
Okay, so with that... You know, I like it. I want her eyebrows to be a little bit less anorexic, but that's another thing.
Yes, there was something, because there's something about when, especially when women, and just when all of them, when they lose so much weight so quickly, the veneers just jut. And so it's like you're already dealing with that, and then you're dealing with like the super thin eyebrows on top of them. Like, I need there to be a little bit of proportion to everything that's happening with your face.
Yeah, because even when I watched it and rewatched, I remember the first time watching, I was like, there's something that's just not off. There's something that's not right here. And then when we rewatched it earlier, I was like, oh, you know what? It's like I want her eyebrows to be a little bit less anorexic.
Oh, God, when we were rewatching, there was a scene, and I was like, there are way too many teeth in the scene. I was like, between her and between Hoechlin and between that horse. And I was just like, there's too many teeth in this frame. I cannot deal. And too many fake frames and too many over large glasses that people don't need to actually see. I cannot deal. Yes, I did like them together. I didn't mind Bitsy. I feel they do. I get it. You know,
if I remember her from Grimm, is that it takes her a little bit to also find her groove.
Yes. Okay.
With her co-star, because I mean, she ended up marrying the guy that she was in Grimm with.
Oh, uh-huh.
I don't know if they're still together.
Oh.
But like...
well, she is pregnant in real life.
Yeah, so I think she's still with him. But like, I remember at the beginning, it was just like, it looked weird. And then they got it. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. Exactly.
But she's like that with she's like that with pretty much every one of the characters.
Well, now one thing that Supergirl does have kind of going against it, and this is where we do kind of have an issue with it being approximately 4 seasons in. They have to find new ways to... It shouldn't be 4 seasons in, and we have Lois making jokes about earning 21 cents on the dollar, and studies show that women are better problem solvers, and, you know...
I thought Lois had earned a Pulitzer or whatever before Clark even started.
Right! And I'm like, give me that. Tell me that. Don't give me when... Because Clark already was like... oh, you know, the world doesn't need a Superman if Supergirl is there. And then Lois comes in doubling down and she's like, yeah, and by the way, women are better at everything anyway. Oh, not that you're not okay, honey. And I'm just like, can we not crap on Superman? Like, what's going on? Like, do we need... And, you know, and of course, you know, he's taking it in stride because he's a good guy and blah, blah, blah. But I'm like... this is 4 seasons in of this. What? Why are we
it felt a little heavy. Listen, I'm all for shows having a good woke moment, but it felt heavy-handed. It just felt like, oh, okay.
Just every scene there was something, you know, like
it's always heavy-handed on that show.
Yes.
And I'm like a broken record, but the person who could pull it off was freaking Callista.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because she did it with sass.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And her character is bitter, you know what I mean? Like, She's supposed to say things like that.
And so, yeah, give me that as a moment. But like Lois, you are brand new. How are you the one? Like, and then especially to Clark, because Clark ain't taking your 21 cents on the dollar. Clark ain't even getting paid. He's doing this for free.
He definitely ain't dressing up like Superman and demanding equal pay.
Right. But I will laugh forever.
To Superman and demand equal pay.
We didn't talk about it because it was so silly. But when Wells gave him that check, and he was like, he's like, my third wife.
Is a fucking delight. Like, I just love him.
I love him. I have loved him. I never watched Ed, but I used to watch Love Monkey. And then, which was like this little show on VH1 back in the day. It had Lorenz Tate. It had Brendan, who was the boy off 90210, the real pretty one? Not Luke Perry, but the pretty one.
Oh, crap.
The one who played Brendan Walsh. Brenda's brother.
Oh, I know it. Jason Priestley.
Thank you. It had Jason Priestley. It had Lorenz Tate. And it was about, and it had Teddy Geiger. And it was like about this record company. Teddy Geiger was like the musical talent. Anyhow, then he had this.
This is like the best deep cut ever.
Right? Then he had a podcast called Mike and Tom Eat Snacks. And it was with Michael Ian Black, who I'm also obsessed with.
Yeah.
And they would just sit around. Yes, they would sit around and eat snacks and just talk about it. And it was just the best little podcast. And so I've always loved Tom Cavanaugh. And when I found out he was on The Flash, I was like, you are crazy. So when I saw him last night, I got so excited. But when he handed Clark that check, and first Clark was like, oh no, I do this for free. He's like, no. He's like, I got an ex-wife and I'm a little behind on alimony. So can you just make sure she gets this? And he was like, you want me to go serve your ex-wife? He's like, yeah. And then when he left, he was like, yeah, that's Superman. He's like, that's Superman. Can I trust him? I was like, no.
That is so, like, they have had, I can't even tell you how many iterations of Wells that they've had on The Flash, but it's obvious that they love him too, and they're like, we don't give a shit, like,
yes,
we'll find a new way to keep you on, and sometimes it's annoying, because it's like, you guys have other characters that you could be doing more stuff for,
right,
but he's always so entertaining, and yes, like, fine, okay, I'll take, like, version number 5,678 of Wells, if it means I get more Tom Cavanaugh, that's fine, I'll take it. Whatever.
Yes.
Yeah, he is so funny. I was bummed that they wasted, so I call him Cat Daddy Flash, for John Wesley Shipp, the OG Flash from, like, the 90s. First, it, like, broke my heart when, like, so if you watch The Flash, you know that he played Barry's dad, and his dad gets killed, like, spoiler alert, but his dad gets killed, and then he comes back. He's also Earth 3's version of The Flash. He's Jay Garrick.
Okay.
And so when he popped up in this episode, can I just tell you, like, how my heart crushed when they were like, Jay? He was like, no, I'm not Jay. And then Barry was like, Dad? And I was like, oh, Barry, that ain't your dad.
That ain't your daddy,
like,
that's you.
I know, I'm Gary Allen. I mean, it was delightful because it was a total callback, to the CBS show from the 90s where he played the Flash and Mark Hamill played the Trickster to his Flash, and Mark Hamill plays the Trickster on this current version of the Flash too. But I felt like they just completely, like, wasted him. I'm like, what even was his point? Like, give me more of my Cat Daddy Flash. I love him. And
I just can't divorce him from Isaac's dad.
Isaac. Yes.
Oh, is that
I just can't divorce him from Mr. Leahy.
Wow.
Mr. Leahy. Like,
I knew there was something in his face that looked familiar, but he gained some weight. Woof. All right.
So angry. So angry.
Yeah, they totally wasted my Cat Daddy Flash, and I'm like, don't do that. Don't feel my emotions like that.
No, which show?
Cat Daddy on the screen, give me more Cat Daddy.
Which show did JR show up on?
Secret Circle.
Oh no. He showed up on one of these Arrowverse shows.
Yeah,
You did?
I feel like it was Arrow, but now I'm gonna have to Google it. Whatever it was, I know my trash ass watched it, so now I gotta like Google it.
Yeah, it was Arrow.
Double Down.
Double Down, that's what it was. Okay. Dang it. And I don't want to watch Arrow. So
Don't do it.
I know. I
Just
can't.
watch a supercut of.
I'm doing it.
And they're not even doing, like, Colton has only been in a few episodes, but I just love that he's, like, thickums now. And I'm like, okay, I'm here for it.
I had too old Colton.
Yeah.
I want young Roy. Dude, Colton is looking so good lately.
He has been looking pretty great.
Yeah.
I'm happy for him.
Me
He looks
I don't know what's going on with his marital status. One day he's wed, one day he's not. So I don't know what's happening.
I was about to say, I thought they got back together.
They did, but then some days he has on the rings and he's like, Merry Christmas, here's my tree. And then some day he's like, I guess I need to get a new tree. And we're like, what? So I don't know what's going on with the bae, but I don't know.
His face looks happier.
With the cocoa.
I mind my business and let Colton live his
Exactly.
life.
You live your life, boo. You let me know what's going on. I'll just be over here. I'll have you in the prayer list.
Schedule that podcast date, Colton.
Yes, schedule that podcast date, Colton. And Matt, or Steven. So I asked Steven, I was like, hey, you excited about the podcast? He was like, yeah. I was like, okay, well, when sounds good? He was like, next week will be good. Crickets. So, we'll see what happens. On that note, thank you guys for coming out and hanging out and talking about the Elseworlds with us. I enjoyed having you on. Whew. I kind of want to watch Secret Circle just so I can get over my hatred of Shelley Haggig. Yeah. But then I'm like, ugh, I don't care. Like, I can literally go weeks without seeing her, and I'm perfectly fine with that. But I also feel like when I do see her, it raises up my blood pressure. I don't want to have to deal with that either. So.
See, and that's why what you need to
But Gail Harold's in it.
Oh, that's true. I love him.
No, but seriously, what you need to do is watch Claws.
Yes. And you need to watch Black Sails on the regimen that I gave you.
Black Sails, with the advice that you've given me,
Yes.
I'm going to revisit Black Sails.
Yes. Girl, because Captain Flint, woo! Because there are times, like, it sneaks up on you. Even me telling you this will not ruin it for you. But it will sneak up on you because one day you won't be paying any attention. You're like, whatever, this little ginger, captain going around being a hot mess. And then one day he'll say something, you'll be like, ooh, Captain Flint. Like, you ain't no good, Captain Flint. You ain't no good. But you are good to me.
Do they stay looking like sweaty, dirty the whole time?
Well, I mean, they are pirates, but it works.
I don't know if I can do it.
Ooh, and Long John Silver. Ooh, child. Just you wait. I'm telling you.
I'm mad. My mom told me, my mom watched it, and she was like, yeah, the first season was rough. She said, but girl, wait till you get to Long John Silver. And I was like,
yes! I'm telling you! I'm telling you. You know what's funny? Okay, so y'all watch Shameless, right?
oh, is Long John Silver the dude that
No.
did Joan Cusack?
No.
Shameless?
That is Charles Vane, but
Okay.
he will turn you. You will forget about Jodie. You will forget about Jodie when you watch Charles Vane. Because at first I was like, oh, look at stupid Jodie. And then he started talking. I was like, uh-oh, I can't take you seriously talking like that. But then a few episodes later, I was like, God dang you, Charles Vane. I was like, you got me. Oh. Black Sails. Thought Odinson, I just got done rewatching and it killed me. It killed me all over again and I loved every minute. That show. Woo!
Okay, can we talk about Thought Odinson's? I like Chad. Is that Chadwick? Who is that in what?
It looks like Chadwick.
Is that Chadwick?
Is it?
I'm enjoying. It looks like Chadwick.
Yes, that is my baby.
I'm enjoying the sweater review here.
It's Mr. Sticky Keys. Looking beautiful. I love it. Mm-hmm. Isaac said, I ain't done talking about the crossover. Yeah. Sorry, Isaac. I think we have exhausted it, Lord knows, but we did some good talking. We came to some great conclusions. We talked about Heck's performance. We talked about the storyline. Crisis is coming. I don't know nothing about that. Y'all need to watch Black Sails.
Here's what I do know. If they use it to reset some of the canon, y'all know I feel very strongly about Barry and Iris. If they use that shit to reset some of like the canon ships, I will burn a tiny fire in my apartment.
Yes.
In a safe place that won't get me evicted, but just know that I'll be fucking mad.
Let me tell you how...
Barry and Iris never got married.
Nope, don't say it. Don't say
it. That's what Oliver had to sacrifice.
No, I think he had to sacrifice Felicity. I think it has something to do with Felicity, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, I'm fine, I guess, with that. I could live with that.
No.
Losing. I think it's bigger than that, though. I think whatever Oliver did is going to...
Or it's going to be himself. It's going to be his darkness, which is going to hamper his power. I think it's going to be something like that.
That would be kind of cool, because then he could find a new source of his power, and then he...
Yes, exactly.
And maybe that's the reason...
Dang it, Isaac, you did this! Okay, so I'm going to tell you one more thing about Black Sails. This is how good this show is. So, the last season of Teen Wolf, the villain was a woman named Miss Monroe. She was an actress who was on Black Sails. She was terrible on Teen Wolf. She was excellent on Black Sails. That's how good. And then later she was on Lost in Space with the main guy from Black Sails. It's always your fault, Isaac, and we still blame you from earlier too. But the main guy from Black Sails was also in Lost in Space along with her, and they were both great in Lost in Space, which I think I'm also going to rewatch soon too, because I really enjoyed that show. It was really cute. But yes, Black Sails is so good, y'all. And Max, Jessica Parker Kennedy, who plays Nora West Allen.
Yep, Nora West Allen.
I didn't know that. Yeah, we were watching we were accidentally watching the other Flash episode, Isaac. And she came on, and I was like, oh my God, it's Max! It's Max! And I was like, I've never heard her actual accent. Like, I've never heard her actually talk. And so I was just like, oh my God. Oh, did she?
Yes, I was watching an episode of, okay, now I like to tell people, my mom is the same person. I went to go see Thor, and we were like a smooth 45 minutes into it, and my mom was like, is that Kate Blanchett? And I'm like, yeah. Like, what the fuck, Mom? And so she did the same thing. Like, we were watching an episode of The Flash, and she was like, is that the girl from Black Sails? And I was like, yep, Mom. She was like, it's so nice to hear her speaking with her full mouth, because she kind of mumbled and didn't open her teeth up when she was on Black Sails. And I was like, I don't know what any of that means.
That accent on Black Sails, it's grating at first, but then you get used to it to the point where that's all you know her how to speak. And then you're just like, because I was listening to her and I couldn't even hear what she was saying, because I was like, that's not your accent, Max. What are you saying? And because her titties weren't out. So I was like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what I'm looking at right now.
That's great casting. I think she looked like a very realistic combination of, if Grant Gustin and Candace Patton had a baby, I think definitely. Yeah, I think they did a very good casting. Well, that's how I guessed who she was. So I was like, who is she in here? And I was like, oh my God, is she their kid? Is she the daughter that came back from the future? It was like so good. And the only reason I knew that was because of the intro from the last episode where he's like, my daughter came from the future to blah, blah, blah. And I was like, because every time I see that, I was like, ooh, did they make the daughter biracial or is the daughter white? You know, like, what does she look like? So I was very happy to see that. Yeah. Very cute. We still love you, Isaac. You can unbreak that heart. We still love you very much. All right. I think we are good to go. Thanks again, everybody, for... Oh, my heart went away. Love you. Whatever.
with that, say goodnight, Philip.
Good night, everybody.
Yay! Say goodnight, Jocelyn.
Good night, everyone. I just want to say, as someone who watches The Flash, and since we're on the topic of Elseworlds, Kenan Lonsdale, he's amazing, delightful, joyful. Just watch Love Simon. He's just like out here living his best life. I miss him dearly as Wallace West. I call him Wallace, but Wally West on The Flash. But he decided to walk away for his own reasons, and he's out here like just really living his best life. I know that Ryan adores him. I adore him. So if there's any takeaway from Elseworlds, it's go follow Kenan Lonsdale because he's amazing. He's
on Love Simon is on HBO, I believe, HBO Go right now. It might be on Netflix. But yeah, definitely check it out.
The boys.
Yay! I'm excited. Very fun. All right. Good night, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye. Thanks for having me.
Bye. Always a pleasure.